Hey, this is Marcus, aka Cradle Cat, and today I just want to share 4 things that I think about as I am EQing vocals in my mixing process. The first thing that I think about is how do I take out some of the sounds that I don't like? The second thing is how do I boost the sounds that I do like in that vocal? The third thing is not just taking out or adding to certain frequencies in the vocal, but just taming those areas of the vocal with more dynamic EQ or dynamic compression in those areas. And then fourth is just the concept of doing all of this in context with the whole mix instead of on an isolated vocal. Let's dive in and take a look.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had?
So that first step when I'm EQing is how do I find those bad frequencies or those bad sounds? I'll turn off the EQ that I already have on there and walk through how I find those frequencies. So I'm just going to bring up my basic EQ here and solo the vocal. And as I go through and listen to it, let's just loop one part of it here. I'm going to use what you can call the peak and sweep method. It's just a way to isolate different areas that stick out, and then you know which ones to take down. Here's what I mean.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun?
So what I'm listening for here, I'm just doing some initial passes there, are any areas that are going to be overly rumbly or boomy, which were down in this range. There's also some unpleasantness sort of in this 2 to 400 hertz range. And there are going to be some other areas that we'll really need to narrow in on up here. So the first thing that I usually do is just take a low cut filter and bump this up to somewhere in around 100 hertz, taking out anything that was just, noise in the background or rumbliness that's not really contributing to anything we want to hear in the vocal. One way that you can test this is by listening to that vocal and sweeping that up and push it too far so that you know what's dropping out, and then pull it back a little bit to where you're not losing anything from that vocal. Here's what I mean.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over?
So somewhere in that range is pretty good to my ears. As I kept going further up, that's where you could really hear that the vocal is becoming much thinner. There's not as much power in it because we're losing some of that low end. But by sweeping that up and then bringing it back, by going too far and coming back to what sounds comfortable, you're able to recognize when you're losing something so that you're not actually taking out too much. So I always go to the extreme and then pull it back so that you know what's being taken out. And then by the time you arrive at that spot that's comfortable, you're not losing anything that you don't want to. So I'm going to leave that around 87 hertz there. And the next area is going to be in this boominess around here. So let's do another filter sweep there to find anything that we don't like.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun?
Yeah, so right in here, there's going to be a little bit of that just boominess that gets built up. Maybe I was a little too close to the mic there, but let's zone in on that again, and then we'll drop this one down.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun?
So once I have that narrowed in on the frequency, I find it easier to just use the control here instead of dragging it down. That way you don't lose your spot. So I'm just going to drag that down and we'll see the difference here.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? are you over?
There we go. And then let's find another one. There were a couple other spots. So that first one was sort of boominess. And then I heard I would describe it more as boxiness a little bit further up.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we...
So whether that's room noise from where I recorded or just some other noise from the recording process, I'm going to drop that down as well. And then there was one more sound right around that area. So let's just narrow in another band there.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we...
So somewhere right around there, I'm just getting some like gargliness, or it's almost, it's just a very unpleasant sound in that range. So I'm taking that down as well. And then we'll do a quick filter sweep more in the top range, just so you can hear, are there any other astringent areas up there that are just piercing through that we don't like?
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a whistling right here. There are usually some spots up here that I would also take down, but this one's the more pressing one that I'm hearing right now. So we'll go ahead and take this down. Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over?
And then let's hear that on and off for all of these.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over?
Great. So already we can see that we've cleared up that vocal quite a bit just by taking out frequencies in that vocal. We haven't even added anything else or looked at other things that we can do with the vocal already. This one is already processed with compression and everything just so we can focus on EQ. But just that change of taking out frequencies that we don't like has already made a drastic impact on that vocal in the mix. The next thing that we'll do is add in frequencies that we do like. I'm going to go ahead and do this on a separate EQ just so we can kind of see it here on the tutorial. You could just do this in one EQ, and I actually did do that on my original one. So now that we've taken out frequencies we don't like,
are you over? Are you over all the fun we...
And what I'm doing here is doing sort of the same peak and sweep, but I'm finding areas that I like, and then I'm going to keep them boosted.
Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had? Are you over? Are you over all the fun we had?
So I really like that area of the vocal here, and I think it just helps cut through and really brings a lot of presence to it. I'm going to go ahead and change the loop just so we can hear some other lyrics, but that's what we're adding to it. So let's hear that on and off.
Texting sober, really, really sober, missing you so bad. Texting sober, really, really sober, missing you so bad.
So now we've boosted that area that we do like and added a little bit of presence to the vocal. And as we'll see in the later step, it'll actually help cut through the entire mix better too and sit better in the overall mix. The next thing that I think about while EQing vocals is not just taking out or adding sound at different frequencies, but will it sound better if I simply tame them when they need to using some dynamic EQ or dynamic compression? And I'm going to go ahead and take off the ones that I just did because I'm going to instead use this dynamic multiband EQ from Waves here. And I've done the same sort of cutoffs and boosts, except for looks like I did not do the cut around 2K in my original mix here. But in these, we'll see the bands bounce around, and they'll only be removing or adding extra information once the sound in those areas reaches a certain threshold that I've set.
Tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you care, oh let's just make.
So what this has allowed me to do is I'm still doing the just basic cutoff here at 87. I am still making some dips in that 200 to 400 range that we had earlier. But instead of just taking out more so here you can see I only dipped about 1 dB in this area instead of on my other EQ. I think I dipped a little bit more. Yeah, I dipped around 4 and 2 when I was originally setting that up by ear just a second ago. But here, instead of just cutting out that entirely, I've set the range so that it looks like it actually matches up just about perfectly, where it can take out up to 3.5 dB, but only if enough sound builds up in that frequency range.
Tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear.
So anytime the sound in this frequency range is going above the threshold that I've set, it dips that, it attenuates that sound down 3.5 dB on top of the almost 1 dB that I'm already dipping out of it. I'm doing that in this entire range, including the 375 range and this entire shelf here. Anything beneath 300 is also going to attenuate down. Then I'm doing the opposite on the other hand of boosting different areas that I like in the sound. Instead of just all out boosting this range and maybe adding too much sibilance at this point, this is boosting it, but then it's also going to pull it back if it gets too high. So this is a way of both de-essing and increasing clarity of pronunciation.
Tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right.
So you can hear whenever it starts to get a little too sibilant or a little too crispy on that high end, it dips it down. Otherwise, it keeps it nice and clear at that top end. And the fourth thing that I think about in this video for EQing vocals is how do the changes that I'm making affect the vocal in the context of the entire mix? So I know I've been looking at it soloed here just so we can hear it, but when we unsolo it, what does that sound like? So I'm constantly soloing and unsoloing, soloing in order to zone in on the areas that I'm really trying to listen to and those frequencies that I'm trying to hear. But then I always unsolo it so that I can hear it in the context of where does it sit in the mix. So let's go back through each of those steps that I already did, but checking it out to the mix.
Tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here.
So that was taking away sound. Now let's go ahead and add sound.
Tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you care, oh let's just make it clear.
we're adding, when we're boosting sound in that frequency range, we can hear it cut through the mix better. And then instead of doing those just with the basic EQs, let's hear it now with that multiband compression, the dynamic compression that just tames it in those areas in addition to just dipping or boosting.
Tell me that you care, oh, let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you care, oh, let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, tell me that you.
And the last thing that I did there, since I'm not boosting in that range as highly as I was in the earlier EQ, I did turn on this other EQ that I was using that was boosting in the same range, that 8K range, just for some added presence. So this EQ is doing basically the same as what we did when adding it. So we can hear that, again, in the context of the whole mix. We'll turn off that boosting EQ and the dynamic EQ and hear the difference as we go through this pre-chorus. This is with it off, and then I'll turn it on halfway through.
Tell me that you care, oh, let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, I know that you're scared, our past is over there, but I need you right here, I need you right here. We've come too far to lay down and just get.
The reason that last step is so important is because when I'm listening to this just soloed, I may find that it's too astringent or too, that high end is a little too much. But when I hear it in the context of the whole song, I really like where it sits, and I like that it pops out on top of the instruments and on top of all the other sounds that I have going on.
Need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, I know that you're scared, our past is over there, but I need you right here, I need you right here.
Especially on that boosting step. When I'm listening to it soloed, I might not have boosted it as much as I would have as when I'm listening to it in the context of the mix.
Tell me that you care, oh, let's just make it clear. I need you right here, I need you right here. Oh, I know that you're scared, our past is over there, but I need you.
See, it really just fits right in that entire instrument mix, and having that boost there sounds way more clear, and the vocal is the clear center of the sound, versus if I'm just soloing the vocal and EQing it, I might not have made that decision to boost the EQ in that range around 8K so much. So those are 4 things that I think about as I EQ vocals in my mixing process. If you have any other tips in your vocal mixing, feel free to drop them in the comments and let me know. If you have any suggestions for other videos or other topics you want to see me cover, also let me know. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll include a link to the song in the video description. Again, this is Marcus, aka Cradle Cat. Thanks so much for watching.
Oh, tell me that you care, oh, let's just make it